The world is veiled in darkness. The wind stops, the sea is wild, and the earth begins to rot. The people wait, their only hope a prophecy. When the world is in darkness, 4 warriors will come. After a long journey, 4 young warriors arrive, each holding an orb. And so begins the saga of one of the greatest RPG franchises in video game history. Hello everybody, my name is Zane, better known as the King Bahamut, and welcome to Let's Play Final Fantasy I on the NES. This is, as you may have guessed, the first game in what has become one of the most long-running and beloved franchises in video game history, which I'll admit I probably could play more games from. I'm not actually that into Final Fantasy, despite for as much as I love RPGs, but I do like this game, and I think it has, despite its age, it has aged better than a lot of other 8-bit RPGs. And I would actually like to show off this game, because I know that a lot of people probably haven't played it, and I would like to show people how cool it can actually be, despite being old and sometimes a little dumb with its decisions. But we're going to start a new game here. Now, at the start of the game, you have 4 characters to make, and you can select their class right off the bat, and you have 6 classes to start. These will more or less stay the same throughout the entire game, so you have to choose your party carefully. But let's go over the 6 classes right now. The Fighter is the first class on the list, and probably the best class in the game. He has the highest HP, the highest defense, and most importantly, the highest physical attack, which is good because physical attacks are probably your best bet in battles, more so than magic for a number of reasons. So the Fighter being good at all that and being survivable means that he's more often than not going to be the most important part of any party that you make. The Thief is kind of bad. In the original game, there's no steal command, obviously, but also the Thief's main draw was that he was supposed to be able to help you flee encounters in more easily. Problem is, as you may know, Final Fantasy I is kind of notorious for being glitchy, and the Thief's ability to run from battles is one of those glitchy things. It doesn't work correctly. He does get better later on in the game. At a certain point, he'll be able to get a little bit of magic, but even then, he's still a little underpowered compared to most of the other classes. So I would recommend this character only if you're experienced with the game and you want to give yourself a unique challenge. So yeah. Black Belt. Black Belt is probably the most basic class, and I would say is a very beginner-friendly class, much like the Fighter. Their main benefit is that you don't really need to spend a whole lot of money upgrading their equipment, because they tend to do better when they don't have weapons equipped, and they don't really need very much armor. Their main downside is that they start off a little weak, but they will get progressively better throughout the game, so I do recommend using at least one of these if you're new to this game and you want to maybe have a bit of an easier time, because money can be a bit of an issue, especially early on in the game. The Red Mage is the jack of all trades, master of none. They are very versatile because they have good physical attack, but they can also use magic, both white and black magic. So they can heal you, they can also use magic to damage your enemies. They're a very useful class. I would say probably the second best class in the game. Their main drawback is that they are kind of expensive to maintain, because you have to actually buy magic spells in this game, meaning that you have to buy not just their equipment, but also the magic they use, which means that you'll essentially be spending twice as much money with this character as you would for the other characters in the game. But that being said, the fact that they are a magic-using class that isn't completely useless, whose physical damage isn't completely garbage, does actually give them a lot of utility, so they are worth using, I would say. White Mage. White Mage is the healer. They have access to the best white magic in the game, which is used to buff and heal your party. Other than that, their physical damage is actually not that bad because they can equip slightly better weapons than the other magic class. But they are still pretty weak in terms of physical attack and obviously defense, so use with caution. Their main benefit, however, is that towards the end of the game, they will get some very, very powerful healing spells, and healing spells are important in this game because you need to stay alive. And finally, we have the Black Mage. Black Mage is kind of weak, mostly because there's some problems that come with using magic as your primary damage dealer. Black Mage's physical attack is not very good, so he's going to be relying on his spells to do damage, which is a problem for a number of reasons. And if you know this game, you probably know why. That being said, he's not actually that bad, and especially towards the later end of the game, he's one of the more fun characters to use. So, you can build your party however you want, but generally, I like to go with a fighter, white mage and black mage, and the fourth member is generally up to chance. But, for this adventure, I'm going to go with a team comp of a red mage, fighter, white mage, and black mage. And the party will be led by the red mage, and you only have 4 spaces for character names. So I will be leading the party as a red mage. Second slot, we will have... Oop, I scrolled past it. Ah, God damn it, I did it again. We will have the fighter. The fighter, Bryn. Sorry, Brian, I can't fit your name into 4 spaces. Yes, Brian the fighter. Next, we will have Rice, the white mage. My friend Risa will be the healer. Technically, the white mage is supposed to be a dude, I think, but I usually like to have the white mage be the woman because, yay, gender roles. And finally, we have the black mage. That's not what I wanted. We have Louis, the black mage, after my friend Lewis. And you might be wondering, why is Lewis a black mage? He is, after all, the Blazing Knight. And my answer to that is, who better for the role of black mage than a black guy? I'm so sorry, Lewis. The joke doesn't even make sense. Let's just start the game. Alright. So we start outside the Kingdom of Corneria. Start brings up our menu. We can check our inventory. We don't have any items. We don't have any magic. We don't have any weapons. It keeps going out of the menu for some reason. And we don't have any armor. But we do have 400 gold, so we should probably go spend that and equip ourselves before we start our journey. This is Corneria, the Dream City. Huh. You know, for a place named Corneria, there sure aren't a whole lot of anthropomorphic animals walking around. I'm Aurelian, the dancer. My name is not relevant to anything in the plot. Warriors, revive the power of the orbs. Talk to this lady. Please save the princess. So we have our first objective. The plot of this game is pretty basic. The world is in a bad way, and we have to restore light to these 4 orbs that we're carrying around. So we have to basically get our balls cleaned. Don't read too much into that. So right here for the weapon shop, we have some options. We have wooden staff, small knife, wooden nunchucks, the rapier, and the iron hammer. Now, generally, rule of thumb with weapons is that you want to go with the weapon that gives you the highest attack, unless you're talking about the the fighter or red mage or thief or whatever, and then you want to go with the weapon that gives you the best balance between attack and hit rate, especially starting out, because your hit rate starts off pretty bad. So I went ahead and I gave my main 2 attackers a rapier, my white mage an iron hammer, and a small knife to my black mage. And that should be good for starting out. So, here, obviously, mages are going to want some very light armor, because they can't exactly focus on casting their magic if they're being weighed down by very heavy armor. I'm going to give myself a wooden armor and give Brian some chainmail, because he's gonna want his defense to be as high as possible. Generally, better equipment that has better stats is gonna cost more though, so do take that into account. These 2 shops up here, this one is the white magic shop, so we can give Risa her healing spell. And finally, we have the black magic shop, where we can give Lewis a fire spell so he can actually attack using magic. Let's talk to this guy right here. Lucan left this town to join his colleagues at Crescent Lake. Talk to this soldier here. The king is sure that someday the Light Warriors will come to save the princess, just as in Lucan's prophecy. Well, I mean, he's got a point. We are here right now. This building right here with the heart on it, this is the clinic. You do not need my help now. You're going to hate this place. Final Fantasy I is one of those games where if you die, you have to go to a specific place in order to get a character revived. And just gonna say this right now, I do not like RPGs that do this, generally. It's not too bad in this game, because there are workarounds later on, but I hate having to go back to a spawn point. Dragon Quest does this a lot with its games, where you have to go back to a church in order to revive anyone, and I just can't stand it. And finally, this here is the item shop. You can buy Heal, Pure, and a tent. But we can't buy anything now, because we don't have very much money. So, before we move on and get into the actual exciting meat of this game, I want to go to the castle here, fill in some more story beats. The king is looking for the Light Warriors. You do not happen to be them, do you? Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. We totally are. The king is looking for the Light Warriors. You say the exact same thing as the other guy. This door. Oh, my sister. So yeah, as I was saying earlier, the plot kicks off with you going to the city of Corneria. Princess Sarah has been kidnapped by a knight named Garland. Probably get a few NPCs who will say something. In sadness, the queen locked herself inside, which is why we were able to go through the door there. I am Jane, Queen of Corneria. Please save my daughter, Princess Sarah. Yep. So like I said, Princess Sarah's been kidnapped by a knight named Garland. Please save the princess. You say, Garland used to be a good knight until, well, I don't know, maybe he was always an incel, or a nice guy, a Reddit nice guy. I don't know what the term you would actually use is, but let's go through here. The king is looking for Light Warriors. You guys all say the same thing. Light Warriors, just as in Lucan's prophecy. Garland has kidnapped the princess. Please help her. So yeah, Garland's a nice guy, and he thinks that he's entitled to Princess Sarah bonking him, I guess. I don't know. Reports say that Garland holds the princess in a temple to the northwest, which we won't be visiting in this episode because I've already done a whole lot, even though we haven't really gotten into the meat of the game. The rest of the rooms here, I think, are locked, so we won't be able to actually see what's inside them. But yeah, now that we're equipped with weapons and armor, let's get into the meat of the actual game. And in order to do that, we have to run around for a little bit. So this is the battle screen. You can fight. You can use magic. You can drink, which in this case is use a potion. Item to use one of your equipment. This will be more important. And finally, you can run. So let's start by selecting attack. We have some imps here. We select ones. Pay attention to what enemy you select when you attack, because it will potentially be important. So Louis attacks first, and he does 6 damage to this imp. Brian hits for 24 damage and kills the imp. Oh wow, Raisa did 17 damage. That's actually kind of impressive. She did almost as much damage as me. Alright. Monsters perished. We get 4 experience and 18 gold. So, yeah, that's basically the gist of it. This is about as bread and butter as RPGs tend to get. Is you walk around on the overworld, you occasionally run into monsters, you bonk them on the head with your sword, and you get experience and money, which you use to upgrade your equipment and buy more magic. Of course, this only works if monsters actually show up, which is kind of impressive that they aren't right now, because this being a very early RPG, encounter rate, as you can expect, is pretty high. Yep, there we go. Some more imps. I do recommend, our destination is, as one of the soldiers said, a temple to the north. I do recommend you go slightly further away from Corneria to do your fighting. You're gonna want to be about level 3 before you attempt to go into the first dungeon, which should be somewhere up here. There it is. So we have a dungeon here. You're gonna want to be a little bit stronger than you are starting out. Oh, we have a creep here. These things are kind of annoying because they have surprisingly high HP and defense for this early on in the game. As you can see, Lewis only did 1 damage, although Lewis's physical attack is not very good. So yeah, you want to try and be at level 2. I recommend level 3 before you tackle the first dungeon. And I also recommend that you do your grinding in more northernly areas of this part of the world map, because the enemies here are in the more northern reaches of this landmass. I am not sure what I'm trying to say. The enemies closer to the temple tend to give more experience and money. As you can see, we got 15 points of experience from that one enemy, whereas... oh shit. We're getting ambushed here, which means that the enemies attack first, and I almost got a bunch of damage right off the bat. Starting out, enemies can be kind of rough, because if they gang up on you all at once, you can lose a lot of HP, very quickly. 15 experience and 16 gold from this. Now, magic works. I want to go over magic real quick because I need myself healed. Magic in this game uses a spell charge system, which means that different tiers of magic can only be used a certain amount of times. It's not like you have a pool of magic points that you can draw from. I think this is actually a really interesting way of handling magic, but it kind of falls flat for a number of reasons, as we'll see later on in the game. Now, as I was saying earlier, one thing about this battle system is, and you may have noticed this while I was talking and doing battles earlier, is that if you select an enemy for an attack, and your character goes to attack, but someone killed the particular monster already, the attack that goes off second will actually not miss. Your characters will just swing at empty air. I've heard people go back and forth on whether or not they like this feature. I don't mind it too much, but I do tend to err on the side of not liking it because it can screw up your strategies if you're not careful, or if you just want to get a battle moving. It does kind of end up taking time, so I don't know. But honestly, it's not too bad, and you get used to it, so not too bad. Oh, and we get our first level up. And whenever we get a level up, all 4 characters are going to get the level starting out, so level up's gonna take a while. I will say, this game, it's being an old RPG, it is definitely a bit grind heavy. So how I'm generally going to handle grinding sessions, because I want to get to level 2 before we move on, and I also want to buy some more magic for my mages, is whenever we have a grinding session, I'm going to cut to the end of the grinding. I'm not going to show every random encounter I get along the way unless there's either something to talk about or we find a new enemy, like we did here, Mad Pony. Let's use some fire on this, because these guys have kind of a decent amount of HP. They're not too bad, but they're definitely stronger than imps. The imps that we've been fighting. There's a couple of other enemies that you can find outside of the Temple of Fiends, which I do hope we'll run into, but if not, I'm just gonna cut away to the end of this grinding session, and I will see you when we are level 3. Oh, we're getting ambushed here by Grimps. Gray imps, I think. Or maybe great imps. I don't know. But they're not too much stronger than regular imps, but you don't want to be too careless with these guys, because they can hit a little bit harder, or I can just dodge everything. The Red Mage is the coolest looking class by far. You know, I'll admit, I was one of those kids back in middle and high school who went through a trench coat and fedoras phase, and I'll be honest, I still kind of think that trench coats look cool. But you have to be, you have to be able to pull the look off, which, I was not able to pull that look off. And I don't got any shame in saying that, but I do have shame in saying that I ever tried to pull it off. I'm just gonna cut away before I embarrass myself any further. Alright, so, I was gonna cut away to the end of this grinding session, but my characters are kind of low on health, so I want to show this off real quick. The Inn. This is how you save your game, but more importantly than that, it also restores your HP and your spell charges to full. The spell charge system was meant to basically mimic D&D, because in D&D you can only cast spells so many times before you have to rest. But we do have enough money to get my Red Mage, or myself rather, the Cure spell. I recommend, like I said, getting up to at least level 3 before you tackle the first dungeon. I also recommend getting the Harm spell for your White Mage, and the Fire spell at the very least for your Black Mage, the Harm spell for your White Mage, and the Cure spell, obviously. And also maybe a Cure for your Red Mage if you have one as auxiliary to your White Mage, because you're going to want some HP heals that... and you're going to want to conserve your White Mage's power. Spell charges. Sorry. I I might be a little bit tired while recording this, which is why my commentary is not great. But then again, I'm also... This is the first LP I've done. Ooh, we get a chance to ambush the enemy here, so we get to a free attack before they get their turn. I have attempted LPs in the past, but I am... they have not gone anywhere, for various reasons, and this is the first one I'm trying in a while, so forgive me if it's a little rough, but this is something that I've always kind of wanted to do, and I figured what better time to do it. Oh, and we got a lot of money from that encounter, which is great. We have some bones here, some skeletons. If I had the harm spell, I could show off what it did. Harm spell basically is like a free party damage to undead monsters. Oh, but we can also just roast them with a fire spell. Obviously, since they're undead, they are weak to fire. Now, I generally do recommend that you put characters like fighters in the first slot in a party whenever you make one, because the enemies do tend, keyword here, to focus their damage on the character in the first slot. That's why a lot of enemies were attacking my character. Oh, that was a pretty pathetic amount of experience and money. What are we doing for... So it's gonna be a while till we get to level 3, so I'm probably just gonna cut out some of this grinding. Oh, never mind. We have a wolf here. Enemies tend to not be super exciting. Most of them tend to be just physical attacks, although you will get occasions where you'll find some enemies that do something a little bit more interesting. But yeah, I'm just gonna cut away until we finally arrive at level 3, and then I'm gonna buy a little bit more magic, and that's pretty much gonna be the video for this first part. Okay, finally, we're level 3. That took longer than I expected. Although, to be honest, I'm not sure why I expected it to take less time than it did. But yeah, we're level 3 now. And as soon as we get through these level up prompts, we'll be able to see that we made a decent pile of money from all those battles. So we can probably go spend it. One thing about this game, because it's old, menus can sometimes take a hot minute to get through. But yeah, we have 400 gold. We can buy a whole bunch of stuff with that. And that is precisely what we are going to do. So let's get the harm spell, because that's going to be important. That goes on our white mage. Let's get me some extra fire magic. Let's get Lewis the lightning spell, or lit in this case, because of text box limitations. And you know what? Let's get me the lightning spell too. Make it so that we have 2 people in our party who are lit. And then finally, last but not least, we go to the inn. And we save our game for 30 gold pieces. Alright. And with that, I'd say our preparations are complete. So, next time on Final Fantasy 1, Let's Play Final Fantasy 1, we go north to the Temple of the Fiends, and we find Garland and rescue the princess, who is probably very impatient with us because of all the grinding we did just now. Sorry, princess, but you're not gonna get rescued if I'm getting my ass kicked. So I will see you guys then. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and leave a comment down below telling me what you liked about the video, what could be improved. I'm sure that there's a lot that could be improved. But yeah, I'll see you in the next part. Take care. You just got pwned, FTW. You're dead, we killed you, we took you by surprise. We saw you roaming around on that world map and said, let's kill that guy. If you like this really cool video, subscribe to my vids. Up in the corner of the screen with the big yellow button. If you get that reference, congratulations. You're just as old as I am. And you're probably not happy about me reminding you of that fact. I'm so sorry.